So I'm so glad that you're here. I just finished a 9-month course in conscious dying education through the Conscious Dying Institute in Boulder, Colorado. And part of the training was that we had to get up and do public speaking. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll facilitate groups, I'll do one-on-ones, but getting up and speaking, no. So I think the biggest thing that I got out of doing it was being forced to do it because you can't pass, get your certificate if you don't have it. So this is like my first official gig. So, well, I did a presentation at Evelyn's meditation group, and she asked me if I would like to present here, and I was like, sure. And then I went home and said, what did I just do? So I was like up all night going, oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And all my friends just say, Rita, just be yourself. Just tell your stories, and that will be exactly what needs to happen. So I just want to start with a little embodiment exercise. So I want everyone to, like rub their hands together, get all that warmth, and then put it over your face. And this is to remember to open our eyes. Take a big breath. And we're going to rub them together again. We're going to put them over our ears this time. Take a big breath. Now we're going to rub them together again. And put them on our heart. Because it is through the heart that the clearest path is. And I want you to feel this in your heart, because as Steve Jobs said, treat every day as if it's your last, because one day it will be. And then, quote Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets, you have this one precious life. What are you going to do with it? And I've been in human services almost my entire career. I started out in mental health and alcohol and drug counseling. And then I had a massage. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I could give this experience to people, this would be such a gift. And I was feeling, I have to admit, I was a little burned out on being in systems where everything depended on insurance and, how much were we really helping people? And I felt like, talk about job satisfaction, to have people tell you every time that it was amazing and that they loved it. And, you can't beat that. And very little stress for me. So, so massage therapy got me into working with the Caring Hands program, which is a program that was started by the Women's Cancer Resource Center. And it offered pre-massage for people who needed it, who were in various stages of dealing with cancer. And that got me into training to do hospice massage. Because not everybody makes it through their journey with cancer. And being in the hospice experience, I felt like I should be able to do more for the people that I was working with. And the pandemic really drove that home, because so many people were so isolated, and I was able to see some through various means. When there was the whole lockdown. And I had looked into the program for the Conscious Dying Institute years ago, but I thought it was too expensive. And I didn't want to have to travel to Boulder and live there. I mean, not live there, but go there several times, pay for hotel, pay for food, all of that. So during the pandemic, they started offering it online. And I was like, okay, this is a message from God. And I got unemployment because they shut us all down. And I'm like, okay, God, you gave me the money, I'm gonna do it. And it was one of the most transformative experiences of my life, because they have you start with a coaching program, which is based on your best 3 months. So you have 90 days if you have 90 days left to live, what would you need to do to feel at peace at the end? And we had to go through like just the emotional realm, the physical realm, the legacy, and then, how do you want to deal with your body at the end? And so many people didn't know all the different choices that were available. And I certainly did. I mean, aquamation, it's like, what? So I wanted to do it to help my clients. I had no idea that it was going to help me. And it ended up being helping me look at the ways in which I'm not living in the most congruent ways to feel like I'm doing the best job possible. So let's see. The death doula aspect, I started actually years before, when I would be working with people with hospice massage, and they would ask me if I would be there with them at the end. And I just thought that was like the holiest invitation that you can have, is that somebody is like, why me? And then to be in that sacred space and to be experiencing all the family dynamics that come up and all of their issues kind of get woven into the experience of their loved one dying. And so many people haven't, especially younger people, haven't looked at mortality as an issue. And I felt like I needed to continue. They were offering this education training for the last time, because the Conscious Dying Institute became the collective, and the woman who founded it went to live with her mother, who was 96. And so they separated, and they were just going to focus on the Conscious Dying coaching and the Sacred Passages doula program. So I thought, this is my big opportunity. I didn't feel ready, but I was like called. So I felt like we needed to do more community education, and we need to like normalize and bring back death into the great mystery of life that it is, and create more communal opportunities for grieving, and bringing together all the generations so that everyone is familiar. In the old days, and you were just talking about how people would have funerals in their living rooms, and it was a community event, and everybody was involved in the care and preparation and the meals and all of that in a way that we aren't now. It's all been handed over to the funeral industry. And so what do we need to do as a community to bring those things back into the flow of our everyday lives? So specifically, the doulas, it's like a midwife. We need midwives to help us labor into the world. And we also need like a midwife to bring us out of the world. It is a labor to leave the physical body. if any of you have experienced people dying, it is a whole process, and it doesn't, you know, for the most part, doesn't happen easily or quickly. So, none of us knew like how to be with people, and so the training helped us feel more comfortable with all the hard parts of being present, holding space, and knowing what our issues are and our triggers are, so that we're able to be there in a really pure way, as opposed to holding back what's triggering us and being there partially, because I've seen that a lot. What else can I say? There's death doulas help with very practical things. Hopefully you get involved with a client early enough in hospice that you can help them make decisions if they haven't been made, help work through whatever they feel is keeping them from being able to let go. But for the most part, I get people at the very end where the family panics, they don't know what to do, and they hear that I'm good with death. And so I come in and just kind of deal with whatever the situation is. And my vision is that we do a lot of this front work before some kind of crisis precipitates some kind of intervention. But I have a lot of really good experience with crisis management at this point. And so the doula is there primarily for the person who's dying, and then also for the family members, the friends, and trying to create this like cocoon of just love and light, so that they can have the best, you know, dying experience possible. And then at the end, we call it the portal, which is this kind of sacred space that opens when the person is transitioning. And it's very important to have somebody who's there and who doesn't allow people to come in and, hi grandma, what's going on? Or chattering or listening to football on television. I mean, you wouldn't believe the things that people, they're taking care of themselves. They're not really aware of what's happening. And so to be able to instruct the family as to how to hold space for the person. Because it's a very holy experience, and you want to give that person the reverence that they deserve for their time of transitioning. Just anyone have any questions? I mean, okay.
The funeral home industry has monetized death. Is there a current organization that if somebody wanted to do, like when Karen's father died, he had the service at their house?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a current organization that still sponsors or supports that?
There is an organization called the Minnesota Death Collaboration, and it's a collective of people who do alternative funerals. They do home funerals. There are a lot of celebrants, and it's very tricky because the funeral industry has gotten very protective of their turf. And as part of our training, we were encouraged to reach out to different funeral homes and find out like what they offer, what their prices are, like how they go about getting people. And some were very open, some were, like very suspicious, like I was trying to hone in on their business. And there's actually been people who have been threatened with lawsuits for practicing like funeral activities without being a licensed mortician. And so they warn us to be very careful and know what your local laws are, know what the state laws are, and make sure that you, there are certain activities that we should never take money for, because that would be considered like practicing without a license. So there are a couple of women on that website that do home funerals, and they would know specifically what the laws and rules are.
Which I mentioned, my recommendation, our last meeting is going to have a guest from Ventura.
Yes.
So they'll be talking about green burials and some of the options. that we have.
I remember really interesting.
Yeah, so.
Rita, thank you for coming today. And how would a family or individual find you? Are you on a website or?
You know, kind of my whole career has been by referral. And so people who know me, you know, that's how my whole massage practice has evolved. And I just finished this program in January. So I'm still like kind of figuring out like, where do I want to fit what I do? And my love, my passion is doing the work with the 90 days. You have 90 days left, what are we gonna do? And then doing embodiment work with that. So we talk about the emotional realm and what you need to do to get to the finish line on that with anybody you need to ask forgiveness from, anyone you need to ask for like some kind of resolution, parents who don't have relationships with children, and there's all these kinds of things. And then to like breathe into that and have an opportunity to be in your body, see where those feelings come up, and allow whatever comes up to then also be part of what you need to do to get resolution, I guess. So I don't have a website yet. Yeah, I was told they're gonna be that remake of a choir practice. So,
See that?
yeah.
Would you maybe, you know, there's communication, emails or whatever, maybe leave Evelyn with like your phone number if you're looking.
Absolutely,
And an email.
absolutely.
And then that could be Evelyn and like when the next email lasts.
Mhm.
Talk to Julie and Lynn, because the three of us go to three different stuff. I know how to manage that.
I'm one of those people that was probably like, she was that male and they walked into the room and said, we can't do anything, you've got to wait
Wow,
90 days.
yeah,
But Mayo went through and set us up with hospice and everything. And trying to remember the name of it, St. Teresa or something like that. There was a place, we had massage therapy, we had music, we had everything, and my wife was in an area where I always wondered what we would ever do with the multitude of hours of video that I had taken that she had wanted. And we actually wound up going through about 20 years of our life. And we just sat there and watched it. Another kind of a weird thing is that I'm a woodworker, and I made her earn, and she approved of the process all the way through. And I made another one, but after she died for me, that's exactly the same. But the thing is that it wound up being the kind of a thing where she planned her funeral, she did everything.
Mhm.
And, but we had help. And, it was regular help, and it made the process, a lot easier. Yeah, so I would encourage anyone, if they have the means and that they can do something like that. Because it really helped the whole
Mhm. Absolutely.
Excuse me,
The-
excuse
is
me.
incorporated
Hello?
doulas into their staff because they see how beneficial it is to have a designated person to be able to give people personal attention. Hospice only offers so much service, and more and more people want more than what's being offered.
And we went through the 5 lights with the hospice and everything.
The 5 wishes.
5 wishes and all that for the family. We all got stuff that we could, so we would have some understanding.
Mhm.
And the process was actually very,
Yes.
and I was really surprised because I wound up getting a couple wonderful foot massages. After they did my wife, then I just sat there and
Yeah,
it was just fun.
yeah, the healing power of touch. That's another full passion of mine, where as a culture, we just don't have enough healthy touch, and there isn't enough. I think that if we touched each other more, there'd be less violence.
Yep.
That's my philosophy.
Rita, one question as a death doula, having just went through, my brother just passed on middle of February. Are you often asked by the family, can you let my brother know that he's probably, you know, that's, as family members, his son and one niece said, you know, outside, do you think Uncle Wayne knows he's gonna die? And we really talked amongst us about who's gonna, or do you find most people know, they don't have to be told? I would like your input on that. Have you ever been asked to be the person to tell the client, patient, you do know that you're probably not gonna be on this earth in 30 days?
I have been asked,
Okay,
and my training is that I'm there to facilitate the process of the people who are there. And I'm not saying, you know, who's appropriate, who's not, but like, who is this person going to hear it best from? Why hasn't he been told yet? You know, and just do some deep inquiry into, like, what is the dynamic that's going on here that he doesn't know? You know, or if the person has dementia or Alzheimer's, is he even going to understand? And if that is the case, who are you doing it for? You know? So in that situation, I would want to be the last resort. Like, if nobody else is willing to do it, if it really feels like it's important, like, is the person giving a message that they want to know? I mean, so looking at all the different ways that you can kind of suss out information to make a determination about whether you tell them, and if so, how, and all those kinds of things. But hopefully a family member steps up. Yeah. You know, that's me being, you know, Rita. If that's, I don't know, if the family feels like they need to know and somebody needs to tell them, and the only person they can get is the doctor, who am I to say anything about, you know, that. I just feel like, exploring it and bringing everybody into communication is the way to make the determination about whether to tell the person and who the person should be that would tell the person.
Thank you.
You bet. Go ahead.
I have a question.
There's a question there.
Oh, okay.
Can you
I don't
guys,
know what,
Well, it's a speaker. It looks like, is it
Zoom
Zoom
thing?
Annette? Adele?
it's Mary on Zoom.
meanwhile, I have a question
Okay.
about Katie Butler's The Art of Dying Well and what your judgment of that is. The last two chapters, I mean, every chapter is very specific. Of course, you want someone trained, but this is as good a do-it-yourself from a sacred point of view,
Absolutely.
especially chapter 6 and 7, take you through right to the end. And it's just beautiful book and makes it sacred space.
Absolutely. And the more of those books that are out there, the more people that read them, the more people that create community grief groups
Yep.
and community, living fully, dying prepared kinds of, forums, the more that will transform the culture so that it's, just one of the things that is known for people to do.
I just looked, okay, Mary R., you have a question.
I just wanted to tell you guys, first of all, thank you for putting this on, and thank you, Rita, for coming. When someone gets up and they're moving the camera, so right now the camera is positioned at the bulletin board in the back. We are not able to see Rita. And thank you. And
Working on it. There's a weird little, it's on like a, it's on a swivel. Let me
Yeah.
try. Okay, thank you, Mary. We'll try to get that straight.
thanks so much.
There.
I've started the hospice program at Methodist Hospital. I worked there for 5 years. It's really important. So thank you for that most important work you're doing. I have two really big memories of all that. It was impressive and difficult sometimes to see how even as the energy of the dying person might have stated their intention, sometimes death accelerated, sometimes medication interfered with the capacity to cognitively express what they want to say. The other thing is, their unfinished work was also sometimes mirrored by family who might have had unfinished work with the dying person, unfinished folks, whatever. And so the work that you do is try to be that balance in that complicated theater that all the dying person family come together. So it's really important what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love, bringing as many family members in as possible, before things start deteriorating and the person can no longer speak for themselves. And I recently had an experience where, the woman was clear as could be about what she wanted and didn't want. And at the end, she couldn't talk. And her husband was insisting on doing an autopsy. And she did not want an autopsy. And it was very delicate to, and so I got information from a lawyer and from a hospice nurse in Seattle who said, if this happens, you know, get as much like tape record things that we have the person's voice saying that they don't want an autopsy. So you can actually go to court and get an order to stop it. But often if you get things in writing and things on a tape recorder, that is enough proof to convince the person who's wanting to go against the wishes of the person who's dying to stop and go with the wishes of the dying person.
That's what I was telling you earlier. So I spent 6 hours doing a Zoom on being an advocate for the creative mind, which is really, one of the things they recommended, which was right along with this, is if the person, when they're queer and their advocate together, make a recording, preferably a video, so that everybody knows that the advocate is in fact speaking to that person, even if that person can't speak. So I thought that was a really good idea.
Yes. Oh, so one of the ways to make sure your wishes get honored is to do a videotape. First to have something in writing. Tell as many people. I mean, that's another big thing is we're not communicating to our loved ones what we want. And especially young people, you know, we had a video in our training where a young man was in a motorcycle accident and nobody knew whether he wanted to donate his organs, if he would want to be kept alive even though he was brain dead. And the whole family was kind of going, you know, yeah, just keep them alive, you know, miracles can happen. And so like having that advance directive, having everything in writing, communicating with your loved ones, communicating with the ones who are gonna have power over you at the end. And like Evelyn said, having it in writing and then doing a video recording with with myself and the person expressing the wishes so that you have the highest percentage chance that they'll be honored.
Well, as we look at on April 21st, or more needed, that could be a little PS at the end of your legacy letter that you're recording. By the way, here's some wishes right now. You know, I mean, there it is.
Yeah.
This is an idea that's gonna be going on here. Included in your.
And to have people think about, let's say, how do you want your last days to be? Do you want to, you know, everybody would like to be at home. If you can't be at home, you know, what kind of hospice do you want to be in? Do you like the room warm or cool? Who do you want to visit? Who do you not want to visit? Do you want aromatherapy or do you want nothing? Do you want sunshine or do you want darkness? I mean, to get very specific about what you will feel will be the best environment for you at the end and to be most comfortable. Pillows, blankets, all that.
It strikes me that I've been with people several times. I don't know that you always know yet that, I mean, you think you know, but.
That's why if you can really have that information ahead of time, before you're there, and have your loved ones know, you know, don't bring that cat in here. I don't want that cat on my bed. I mean,
Well, but
yes.
I'm not so sure that you know, but I think sometimes at 3 months out, you might want something entirely different to that day.
True. So we're just working with, you know, the best practice of preparing, and then as, you know, life changes, which is always changing, if you can articulate what you want, great, otherwise people will go with what they've been told. But that's a good, you know, everything changes.
Well, you become so much more clear quickly, depending on how you're dying, more slowly, depending on how you're dying. You become quickly and or slowly, much more internal. So it doesn't matter very much after a while, by the very end. Because what you just want is that kind of internal peace.
Which is why creating a quiet environment, not having people watching football in the background. That's my favorite. It's like, oh, he loves football.
Yeah, well, maybe you did that.
So, those are just some, you know, general ideas about what you want to try and create and how many of us have thought about that? I mean, it's not part of what we talk about when we're having coffee, you know?
It's sort of, it struck me like there were several times when people tend to seem to die when I was a ship. And I don't know, it's kind of strange. I just thought, after a while, I was a little concerned about what I was bringing to these people.
Oh, maybe you were
But it
bringing
was very quiet, I made sure that it was very quiet, and it's not to tell the stuff.
Yeah, with the great mystery, you know, of what the transition is and where we go. You were probably creating an energy that was conducive to them feeling like they could let go, and they'd rather have you taking care of them when they let go than maybe somebody else. You know, Nurse Ratched.
Or some family member that they couldn't.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it would be after the family left. I was the only one.
It's very common. They wait for the people that are closest to them to leave, and then they go because they can let go. Because oftentimes we're keeping them there.
I have this really kind of terrible story, but I was in the Army, got mobilized to Fort Sam Houston, and I was on a floor where we were taking care of some of these people that had been in the ICU. And this one gentleman kept coming in and out, and finally he died on my ship. And the family was just infuriated because military retirements are nice. And they were really mad because he died, and so they would have done him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of dynamics of stuff.
Yes, and grief issues.
And even
that
the
start
doctors
this.
were keeping him alive. So they were kind of upset with me, but I thought I was close to him die.
Oh,
I still remember those.
yeah. Clearly, yeah.
We all think we have time. And so, usually myself, I don't think I need to work on this regret or this moral favor, because I've got the time, but if something had 90 days, it's maybe too late. So I don't think there's been enough said, enough written about structure of helping people. You know, we talk about gratitude and all that, but that's really a matter of letting go of the demons of regret, of feelings. What I do, what things I do. And I don't understand enough in the language of massage, in all due respect, and gratitude of just knowing that all of us have some of these demons. And letting go of some of that, so we don't carry that with our back.
Right.
And I don't know if you start that at day one, and you start that today. Speaking for myself.
Yeah, I think that going through the process of evaluating your life, honoring what you've accomplished, grieving what you thought you were going to accomplish and didn't. And that's where Francis Weller's book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow, he has the 5 gates of grief. And he talks about all the ways that we need to grieve in order to come together with the other hand of prayer, which is gratitude for the things that we have accomplished in our lives and make life worth living. And that we can't focus on the negative. I mean, we can focus on it in regards to how will releasing it help us move forward and embrace more of life and being here. But I would highly recommend that book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow by Francis Weller. He also has some really good YouTube videos that are free. There's one that's 13 minutes where he's talking to a men's retreat and just talks briefly about each gate to give you an idea of what he's offering in the book. And he's very big on doing public rituals, bringing together altars with pictures of your loved ones, talking about it, and giving us an opportunity to grieve publicly as opposed to, you know, at home when we get home from work, which is what most of us do.
If, let's say there's a tragic death, and would you come, or would you come with heaven, to look at the family, maybe what just happened?
Yeah, part of my training is dealing with suicide and sudden deaths and complicated deaths. And it's a very, you really have to engage in sacred listening and allowing the people to be where they are, and then working with whatever is in front of you. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it, because in my case, these weren't people I knew, so I had no stories about them, I had no understanding of their family dynamics, or the person who died. And so I'm coming in like, I just need to listen, let them talk, and let them tell me what they need from me. That's how I approach that. And I don't go in with any expectations, and a lot of it is connecting them with resources and being there. And then whatever they need, something needs to be picked up at the airport, you know. I mean, just like coordinating activities and just being a calm presence who isn't being emotionally impacted by the loss. Yeah, it's so brutal.
Do you get emotionally involved, or do you try to stay away from
Oh, there's no way to not be emotionally involved. I mean, to even attempt that would be folly. It's about, my big thing is, how can I be of the highest and holiest service here? And so assessing what needs to happen, and being emotionally present, and attending to their needs. That's what's most important to me. And this is whether I'm getting paid or not. It's really about, I'm in this situation, I feel like God has put me here, and how can I be helpful? And if I wasn't emotionally involved, I don't know that I'd be as effective. Because all you can do is have compassion for the pain that people are in. So.
So Rita, a really practical question. How are you usually paid, not paid? Do you have a set of decisions? How does that work?
Yeah, so I work on a sliding fee scale, because some people can afford only a small amount, and some people have a lot of resources, so they're happy to pay me. And we're told, I was trained that I should have a contract, and that it all has to be paid ahead of time, and then you give money back, or have them decide if they want to donate the money to something. And I think I've done one contract, but it was because they knew they were dying. This was a younger person, and they wanted me there. And so the contract set out what I was going to be doing for what period of time. There was a set fee. You know, it's a personal service, so people pay me personally, and we negotiate like how many hours a week or how many hours a month as we're going along. So.
If you are becoming emotionally involved, helpful that way. You have support.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So I belong to the support group that the Conscious Dying Institute has, and we've got an alumni meeting every month, and then we have Grace and Grief vigils where everybody, it's a drop-in twice a month where we can just come and talk about whatever's going on with us, ask for other people's ideas or support. I have a couple of friends who are death doulas, and we often help each other, like we tag team, like, one woman had to go to a wedding and she was in a case where the woman was in probably the last weeks. And so I took over for her while she was at the wedding. And I have good friends, dear good friends who we do deep inquiry all the time because that's what gives us the most juice out of like what we're doing, because everything is a mirror. And so whatever's going on, it will reflect and bring up whatever's going on with you that is coming up. And when I'm feeling like judgmental or snarky, it's like, what is that person evoking in me that I'm having that response? And I certainly don't want to be judgmental or, but if that's what I'm thinking, where's that coming from? So that I can, be self-aware and not unconsciously bringing stuff into these relationships.
Is there a network of death doulas? Like if we have a family member in another state, to connect someone there, or do you possibly travel? How does that work?
The Conscious Dying Institute has a list of people who are offering services. And I think that if you just like Google Death Doula Sacramento, you'd probably like find somebody and be able to read like what they're doing. There's also INELDA, which is another training that trains death doulas. And I'm sure that they have a bigger presence because they're nationwide and it's a very short training, so a lot of people have been able to do it. And I think, I think that this movement is just like growing by leaps and bounds all the time because people want a different experience than what they've had, especially with people with their parents. It's like, I don't want this. So, yeah. And as I'm getting to know more people, because I'm doing trainings online, I know people in other cities and there are people that I would recommend. So.
Can maybe get some of that information about websites and stuff that you have available. Versus Saturday,
Oh, sorry.
Clearly what you do is different from what like a hospital chaplain would do, but how would you specifically differentiate?
Okay, so chaplains tend to attend to the spiritual needs of the person more, and are there as like spiritual support if people have questions or needs around, like one of my instructors was a chaplain and a death doula, and she said that there are people who are afraid of going to hell and that they don't want to die because they don't want to go to hell. And there are people who feel like there are going to be people in heaven who are mad at them because there's just things that come up for her. And so to kind of talk about their beliefs, what beliefs they were given through their religion and kind of how to soften things in a way to, we have a benevolent God that is all forgiving and, just to help them with whatever they're struggling with spiritually. That's like my understanding. And a lot of people feel safe with chaplains, you know, because they're connected to God. And the death doula, we've been trained, I mean, just in the muck of it all. How to help people accept the physical changes they're going through, to help just be a resource for them for whatever comes up. And connect them to any resources that if we aren't able to provide them with what they're needing, to know who can. And then also part of death doula is working with the family and making the family a team that's going to surround this person and give them what they need and want. And then also to help them deal with their feelings and issues. There are always issues that are coming up for them throughout the experience. And then to be there, like let's say all of a sudden they're struggling with breathing, you know, to help them make the decision of whether they want to be put on a respirator. They just want, you know, comfort and morphine and oxygen. Or do they want to be actually mechanically helped to breathe? And if that hasn't, a lot of those things didn't get decided before, the person isn't able to make those decisions anymore. And so the family members left. And then so to help them, if they don't have any idea of what the person would have wanted, like to just talk very practically about what the chain of events will be, because once you put somebody on a respirator or a ventilator, you usually have to make the decision to take them off. And then at what point do you take them off? And that gets very sticky. And there are often different factions of the family. One believes one thing, one believes another, and how to be a mediator for that. And not, while trying to be an advocate for the person who's dying. You know, and always bring it back to, what do you think she would have wanted? Because she's on her way out. Are we putting the respirator on for her or for us? Yeah.
So Rita, our time is up. So, gosh, she's given us a lot to think about. And there'll be a lot of overlap with other things coming up. And I might add, I've been a hospice volunteer for 2 different organizations. Hospice in the Twin Cities, now under the county, which is around Center Center. And now with Oxford, which serves. And if you have a heart for that kind of thing, they're really desperate for volunteers. You know, there's 5 people just to focus on. I've taken 2, but you know, at least 3. So, I was walking back last night from this visit, and I thought, you know what? I've had a really busy week. I got more out of this visit than I did. I think. And they're also, Compassionate Choices has put out a really interesting dementia. What they call it. But anyway, as a way of looking through that while you're still clear in your mind, and so we'll give some time to that. In this room, I mean, I'm looking, there are so many people who have become widowed or have experienced with this in their family just in the last year. So there's always and many of us, one of our friends just spent on hospice. There's a lot, but I'll yeah, so very timely.
Thank you.